Good morning. It's a rare thing for me in a number of ways. Number one, it's very rare for me to be up at this time in the morning. People who know me better wouldn't schedule my talk for this time of the morning, but that's okay. And I don't know if it's a rare thing for you guys to be up at this time of the morning. I mean, maybe it is if you've had sleep in between, but there's plenty of party animals out in the bar last night, so I appreciate you being here. And another reason it's a rarity for me is because I've actually got notes for this talk. Look. I've got one quote on here, which I heard for the first time yesterday. And I heard from Anthony, from Terence McKenna. The real secret of magic is that the world is made of words. And if you know the words the world is made of, you can make of it whatever you wish. I loved that quote when I heard that yesterday from Anthony. It really appeals to me because I love language and I love words. And when I'm working with clients, one of the things that I'm always doing is I'm listening to the words they use because I'm listening to how they are shaping their reality with those words. I'm listening to where they speak from because it's full of clues as to what's going on for them. Not necessarily the content of what they say, but the key operational concepts, all of this stuff. I love language. Absolutely love it. And yet when I teach hypnosis, for the first morning of my 2-day workshop where I teach hypnosis, I do not let anybody use any words. I do not let them use words, which I think is certainly a little bit different from how I used to teach, and I think it's quite different from how a lot of people come to learn hypnosis, because there's often a focus and an emphasis on words to begin with. Some people learn from scripts, some people get stock phrases, what's the languaging for this, and this is the place where people go, and they often think that hypnosis is all about words. And I think words are really powerful things, but the base upon which they are resting is equally powerful, if not more powerful. And that's what I want to talk about today, but also play around with. So, when I came up here to begin with, and I stood up here, and you could see my belly button. Luckily I've been working on that, keeping trim. Yeah. If I'd have been up here a few years ago, that would have been a truly grotesque sight. But everybody quietened down. Why did everybody quieten down eventually? Why did everybody quieten down? How did you know it was time? Right. I did something. I communicated non-verbally. Not in a particularly elegant way, not in a particularly sophisticated way, but an entirely non-verbal way. And it worked, because it works. I think the non-verbal is really important, and I'm going to get to why. But one thing to remember is, whilst I think that it's true what Terence McKenna is saying, absolutely 100% true, I also think it's absolutely not true as well. Because when we come into the world, we have no words. We have no words. And yet we are. There are things we understand when we come into the world. There are cues that we pick up on. There are cues that parents pick up on when we come into the world from what we do. We must come into the world and be able to recruit our caregivers in the service of our needs. And we do not do it through saying, "Excuse me, mummy, I'm hungry." We do it through going, "Wah!" And mummy feels a sense of urgency in her body, viscerally, and responds to the child's needs. She might not know specifically what they are, but she has that sense of urgency to respond. And that's a huge thing. A few years ago, I really started to get into this as a concept, non-verbal response. And at the time, I was really kind of immersing myself in it. I found myself in the small town that I am now temporarily living in again. And it's just up the road from where my offices and training space are. And there's a chip shop up there, which I used to eat from way too often. But they decided for some reason they cut down all the on-street parking, give like about 3 spaces. So you have to park up on the pavement a lot of the time. And I was parked up on the pavement. I was in the fish and chip shop, and somebody came and said, "Has anyone here got a blue Peugeot?" I said, "Yeah, I have." I said, "You're getting a ticket right now." And I didn't think, and I just rushed out the shop. And I rushed 10, 15 yards down the road. And the guy's there writing out the ticket. Now afterwards, I was told that if a traffic warden, or whatever they're called now, I don't know what they're called these days, some different name, if they're already writing out the ticket, supposedly they're not supposed to be able to stop because it's already on the copy and there's a number on the ticket and stuff, and they can't just throw it away. I discovered this after the fact. But obviously I didn't want a parking ticket. Didn't want one. So I ran down the road and I ran up to the guy and I went, "Oh," like that. And he went, "Well, you're parked on the pavement," he said angrily. So I went, "Oh." And he went, "Well, move it now." And I jumped in the car and I moved the car. Now that response, it came from a different place from what I would normally do. There were no clever words there. There was just this sort of parody of crushed emotion. But I know that by doing that, I am keying into something primal in that guy. Something beyond words. So there's a good chance he's going to respond, he's going to react. And do you know what? He's not going to know what the fuck is going on. Because I'm not appealing to that part of the brain in that moment that does the thinking, that does the figuring out, that does the logic bit, that does all of this. If I show up with words and make a case for myself, well, he can argue with that case. If I come up with a case presented in words, he can argue with that. But I don't want him to argue with it. So I want to appeal to a part of this guy. I was going to say appeal to his soul, but it's a traffic warden, so it's not there. But I want to appeal to something deep, something visceral, something which is beyond words, something which is beyond anything he can even make sense of in the moment. Because people live by the illusion that they're rational creatures. They really do. And they're really not. Most of the time people have no idea why they're doing what they're doing. It is just the behaviour which is bubbling up from being, as this is a room full of hypnotists, I'm going to say from their unconscious soup, what's going on inside. So I want to be aware of this when I'm working with people, when I'm doing hypnosis, because the more I'm layering in suggestion at a level which has got nothing to do with words, then the less their thinking, analytical brain has much to do with it. I'm not feeding it the materials it needs. If I come up with a concept and lay a concept on, I can get a counter concept laid across that. Now, I'm not saying I don't use words. Of course I use words. I agree 100% with Terence McKenna, whilst disagreeing 100% with him. But it's true. People shape up and they create their reality through the concepts they engage with the world through, unquestionably. But before we built those concepts, we have a whole bunch of defaults. And all of that default stuff remains in place, even upgraded. It becomes more sophisticated in its ability to communicate, but it communicates with another part of the person's being, something totally different. And surely we're all up for multi-level communication, right? Yeah? Yeah. See, why are you nodding when I say that? Why are people nodding? Is it really because you truly agree with me? Is it really? Or is it because I'm going, right? Do you know? I don't know. It's all good though. So I come from a background in martial arts, and I used to be a trainer of a particular martial art called Sistema, which is a Russian martial art. It just means the system. In fact, it's a very generic title. It doesn't refer to a specific style. It gets used for a lot of Russian styles. Now, the thing about Sistema is that it's not like the Chinese, Japanese, Korean martial arts things from those kind of Far Eastern traditions, whereby there's often a long, slow process, 10 years of study to reach the level where you can even consider calling yourself a beginner. I trained in those martial arts as well, where the master would come along and make a minute adjustment to the angle of my hand and then walk away and say nothing. And I'm going, "Wah." You know, I've done that. But Sistema is different because Sistema is about drawing stuff out of people rather than putting stuff in. And I was a trainer at Sistema, and it's a gorgeous training format, the Sistema training format. Absolutely gorgeous. So you're nodding along, you see. How do I know? How do I know that you know something about Sistema? How do I know? Non-verbal, right? You do, don't you? Please sound right.
Yeah, you're on. You are.
So it's a gorgeous training format, and it makes sense because Sistema is a skill set. It is a skill set. So I was training people using this format for years at Sistema, and then I became an NLP trainer, and then a hypnosis trainer. And when I was training people in NLP and hypnosis, what I did is I emulated my NLP teachers, my hypnosis teachers. And I'm not saying they were without skill. They were not. However, it occurred to me that a lot of the way that many NLP teachers and hypnosis teachers teach is not the most efficacious, given that it is a skill. And I believe that you want to get skills in the body. In the body. So one day I decided, having experienced a lot of people coming on my weekend workshops that didn't seem to have overly high levels of skill, but did seem to have a reasonable amount of training behind them, that I would totally flip how I was teaching hypnosis. And that I would teach it exactly like I used to teach Sistema. And I don't know why I didn't think of doing it before, because it was a great idea, and it really works well. Because it gets people into an embodied skill set very, very quickly. That's what it's for. The Sistema training protocols come up through the Russian Special Forces units. They don't have a long time to draw skills out of people. They want to get it now, as quickly as possible. So this is the approach that I tend to work with. So I'm going to do one of the things I also say at the beginning of the trainings when I'm wanting to connect people with their innate skills that they already have and bring them into a hypnosis context. One of the things I always say is there is no obligation for anybody to be hypnotized, and there is no obligation for anybody to hypnotize. No obligation whatsoever. Really, the invitation is to open up, be present, and be willing to experience, and to experience deeply. That's the invitation. And for anything that we do in this short, my goodness, is that the time already? In this short hour, that invitation stands as well. To be open, to be willing to experience deeply, and experience subtleties, subtle differences, things that you might not normally notice and might not normally pay attention to. So I'm going to do a little something here. And I'm going to say it's not hypnosis. And I know I always say it's not hypnosis before I do hypnosis, but really I do mean it this time. It's not hypnosis. It would be great if someone would come up here and help me out with a little piece. It will be fun and interesting, and you can be deeply curious about what's unfolding. And it would be better if it's somebody who has not done my hypnosis skills bootcamp training before, which I don't know, is there anyone who has done in this room? Oh, awesome. I have a room primed full of people to have fun. So who would like to jump up and just give me a hand with a very, very short, very, very quick demo? Freddie.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Please give Freddie. This is a very simple thing I'm going to do. Can I get you to come stand over here?
Yeah.
What I would like for you to do, Freddie, is just as if I were, just walk through me, but don't let my, just head for that door. Ignore me, just go straight through.
Right.
And turn around. When you're ready, just walk back through again. One more time. Okay. One more time.
Hold on.
Yeah. That's right. Thank you, Freddie. So, what happened there? Why did you stop there?
Because it's obviously, although you didn't say it, your actions was, I want you to stop there.
So, what were you experiencing at the time?
But it also felt like there was, and I'm saying it all last night, I'm a terrible subject for hypnosis and this sort of thing. But it also, there did feel like there was, even though I know there's not, there was like there was something else in that space, if you like. Maybe I'm just imagining.
And in that moment, yeah, wait, I know you have a good imagination. In that moment, what was going through your mind of thought?
Just that I'm going to stop here.
Was that those words, I'm going to stop here? Was there a decision making
No,
process?
I don't think it was. I think it was just, I stopped.
Bing, right there. I don't know. I think it was, I don't know. I stopped. I stopped. Thank you, Freddie. That's it. See, no hypnosis. So, you know, you can ask questions and people will build all manner of frames around it afterwards, but when you dig a little deeper, they stopped. Why did they stop? Because they stopped. That's it. That's it. And there was an experience. You're also saying, Freddie, it's like there's something else there. Well, I don't know whether that's, I mean, you know, some people look at that and go, oh, look, that looks like energy work. People have said that to me before. You're a mesmerist. You do mesmerism. Maybe. I don't know. But here's the thing. Freddie's system has to process the communication somehow. And he's not processing it linguistically because it's not a linguistic piece. So he has to process it somehow. So how's he going to process it? Maybe, what was it you said, maybe it's your imagination?
Well, you know, when you said, you know, what did you feel? And I said,
Leading questions.
I felt like there was this,
Yeah.
in that space, it's not an actual physical feeling, but it's just, like you said, you know, your whole actions was, and it wasn't just put your hand there, that's a different thing. If someone goes, they mean stop. For you it was that movement.
Right.
No, which made a difference.
Right, thank you, Freddie, as well, because, can I just come back up, Freddie? Sorry about that, didn't you? Because I do want to show
Normally I
a
have
couple
to
of
change your clothes each time I come up.
yeah,
Capital stuff.
because that's sparked me off to a couple of nuances
Right.
here. So I'm going to get you to come back over here and stand back here again. And I'll walk through again like we were doing before. That is an entirely different experience,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
It's entirely different. What was different?
Well, straight away, as a man, the moment someone does that to me,
Yeah.
my whole, I'm in this room, but someone's doing that in the street.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a lucky escape.
the next thing, if someone just do that in the street,
Yeah.
as a human being, as a man, I suppose, I don't know if it's the same for women, I don't know. But I immediately thought, this person's just forcing herself,
Right.
you know, making me do something.
Yeah.
And the difference between that and when we did it first time
Yeah.
was that wasn't there at all.
Right.
You know, you know, if I can explain it in the right way,
Yeah.
that was almost like it was an allowance, but it's also a guidance.
Right. An allowance, but a guidance. I'm going to attempt to show you what I did the first time. Now, Freddie knows what's coming this time, so it's going to change the dynamic. Inevitably, it's going to change the dynamic. But I'm going to attempt to show you what I did the first time, okay? So I'll get you to step back this way again. And just come along and walk them through. Right there. So what did you see happening there? There's no right answer to this, just the observations.
Control?
Maybe control. That's not a word I'm a huge fan of.
There was a process with the up. Something's happening, and then it had a kind of more of a value attached. But it was almost like you were following him rather than actually leading him.
Right.
Guidance, I think, more.
Guidance.
Well, that's the word I'd use. You know, as from experiencing it, is that he's guiding me to where he wants me to stop, rather than saying stop there. You know, it's as I said, it's a feeling of there's no emotion attached as it was when he just went bang, stop there, which, you know, that created an emotion, and a negative emotion, to be honest. But, you know, we're in this situation, so I know you're a friend.
I didn't get punched.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, that was a negative emotion, whereas when you know, it was just a walk through me, but now I know, you know, without saying it, I want you to stop here, but there's no emotion attached. It's just it's like I say, it's an allowance, but a guidance. One of the better way of describing it.
These are good ways of describing it because they're along the lines of what I want to create with Freddie in that moment. So far as I'm concerned, it's a co-creation with Freddie. What's happening in that moment, the unfolding moment we are both participating in, I want to be co-creating the outcome with Freddie, not forcing stuff on Freddie. I want to co-create with Freddie. Thank you, Freddie. I won't drag you back up.
Oh,
again.
great.
I appreciate that. So a couple of questions I'm going to go over here first because Bob's less attractive.
I thought your breath was really interesting as well.
Okay, good observation.
Taking a deep breath and let it out as if to say, this is okay.
Yeah.
Like,
So good observation, breathing. And Anthony noticed the shape as well because these things come together. Bob.
It's just being a hypnotist, I guess. I just saw you pacing him. That's why I was looking at him.
That's it. That's it. Pacing and leading. Ding. I mean, that's it. It's right there. The first thing, the reason that I had this exercise begin, when I do this at the Hypnosis Skills Bootcamp, that's a two-part exercise. I have everybody do the walkthrough exercise. And people are going, well, what am I doing this for? What's this about? But when people start, it depends where their attention is. And the thing is to move with the person, to flow with the person. Not to move independently of. You become one system with that person. They're walking and they're walking through. As they move, I'm moving already. I'm not there in my head going, should I move now? Is it too early? Is it too late? When do I need to Because then I'm up here in my own craziness. I'm not right here in the room, present with the person that I am co-creating with. So this is why I have this walk, step aside. Walk, step aside. Non-resistance, moving as one. Now, once you tune into it, it's great. I use this as the foundation for everything that I do, because in order to move as one, you need to be out of this craziness thinking up here. You need to be present in the space. You need to be moving together, breathing together. All of these things in a very felt sense way, not in an intellectual up in your head way. Now, one of the things that I found, the reason I build up across the weekend like this when I'm teaching, is because if I go, right, the first induction we're going to learn is boom. An induction contains a lot of component parts. There's a lot to engage the conscious mind, if you like. So people are up in the head going, worse, they're walking up to your flip chart and flipping it over to get the instructions for the induction up again. And they're, and they've got too many balls to juggle. But get people into the basics. What's the basics? Be present, connect, pace and lead. Pace and lead. So that's where I want to start with people. Now also, Anthony noticed some things. We are organic creatures. We are not blocky and robotized. Our joints are circular. When we move with a rolling gait. I'm a big fan of smoothness. Is Kate in the room? Kate, you in the room? No, Kate's not in the room. Kate always talks about smoothness. She always says, "Oh, I love you. You're my smoothness guru," or something like that. That sounds terrible, but but I'm a big fan. Maybe it comes from my father. When he taught me to drive, when my father taught me to drive, his big obsession was with how smoothly I drove. Didn't seem to care if I hit pedestrians, as long as I did it smoothly. You know? So this is a big thing for me. I want to get into flow. So this waveform. Also, there are certain things that we process. I want someone to stop, but what experience do I want to create for Freddie in that moment? I want to co-create a particular experience with Freddie. I don't want to co-create an abrupt experience for him. I want to co-create a smooth experience. So I'm not going to do a set of non-verbal suggestions that suggest hitting a barrier. I don't want him to hit a barrier. I want him to settle to a point. And ideally, I don't just want him to settle to a point, but I want him to connect into that point. That's what I want him to do. So I'm going to pace and lead. And at the moment, he's going to come in. The first thing I'm going to do, this is what I do in my mind, I'm lifting his energy, if you like. So I go, boom, joint breathing, breathe in. And you notice the breathing, it's settling, and it comes down, and it settles everything. And the idea is I want to create an experience of Freddie settling into the spot.
That's what it felt like, yeah.
Right. I want to do that, and I want to do it without uttering a word. Without uttering a word. So the key factor in there, key factors, number one, you want to be present in the moment. You want to co-create with the client. But you also want to know exactly what it is that you want to create. What is it that you want to create in terms of experience? I think this is a profoundly useful place to go as a hypnotist, is really connect with the experience you want to be manifesting inside of that person's neurology, so to speak. Really connect with it. Because this is what you're creating. Now when you use your words, you start to use your words. I want to remain connected to this felt sense of where we're going. I want every word to arise from my body and remain connected with it. Yes, I want to understand the principles of verbal and linguistic communication. Absolutely, of course. There's a time and a place for, when I studied with Richard Bandler, his directive on learning the Milton model was just write out the patterns. And I did it. And that's good, because it gets embedded. Because I don't want to think about the structure of language, because the structure of language is not what I'm trying to create with the client. There is an experience. So I want the words to remain connected to whatever is going on. So thank you, Freddie. Some podium time. You guys know what this means, right? You know what this means. So, who would like to join me up here for a moment of absorption in a perhaps highly interesting and informative experience? Thank you. Which is perfect because... Thank you. Thank you. Please take a seat. So again, you can experience this any way that you would like to. I would invite you to just allow yourself to become fully absorbed in what it is that you experience. So the first thing is I'm going to get you to just move your feet slightly closer together. I'm just going to sit slightly off centre so that people can see me, should they wish to do so. And that was a joke, but that was a non-verbal joke, see, it doesn't always work.
The non-verbal laugh.
I'm going to back off there. That one did work. So, you left or right-handed, by the way? Right-handed. Okay. What would you like then, please? Okay, perfect. Just let that sit there. Before we begin, just go ahead and take a breath in. That's when you can breathe out. And just pick a point on this hand, right here, that you can focus on completely and be aware of completely. And be aware of yourself in this experience of that hand. Now you know, some people talk about conscious mind, some people talk about unconscious mind. As you're aware of that hand now, rested on your leg. With your conscious mind, what I'd like to invite you to do, with your conscious mind, is just to lift that hand as you continue to see that hand. To lift that hand, but the tiniest amount you possibly can. Just lift that hand consciously, the tiniest amount you possibly can. That's right, and let your unconscious mind follow. That's it, let your unconscious mind follow. And following, and following. That's right. And you can experience that lifting now. That's it, that's right, that's it. That's right. And all the way. Perfect. Perfect. Until and notice. And you can take all the time you need within the next few moments to experience this moment. How's that hand in that space, in that place now? And all of this. So go ahead and take a breath in again. And that hand can remain in this position until... There you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, please do. Please. Never come back. Never come back. You've been wonderful. So it's a hand levitation induction. You've all seen a hand levitation induction before. What I wanted to demonstrate there, I did that eyes open there. Could have done that eyes closed to start with. If I'd have done that eyes closed, you wouldn't have seen me doing much different. So I'm here and I'm orchestrating what's occurring non-verbally. Now my language is there supporting that. I didn't do that entirely non-verbally. My language is there supporting that. But I don't know if you were paying attention to my language. I wasn't there giving a lot of suggestions about balloons and lots of metaphors and layering lots of stuff on. It's actually keeping the language pretty minimal. I mean, yes, I know I was talking. Yes, I know I'm filling the channel. But I'm keeping the language pretty minimal because what I want to lead with It's not abstract concepts. What I want to lead with is a shaping of reality in the moment that comes from a very felt place, a very visceral place. So I want to set the induction up. I'm going to do it the lazy way. Get the thing primed. You know, consciously lift that hand the tiniest amount you possibly can, and then let your unconscious mind follow. That is the easiest way that I have found to set the whole hand levitation thing in motion. Once it's moving, you see, once you've got that initial movement, boom, the rest of it can just take place with the gesture, with the lifting, with the... And it's always pacing and leading. It's always... So did you see the little finger go? So when the little finger goes, I'm not going to go, oh shit, that wasn't in the plan. I'm going to own it with my gestures. I'm going to own it with, I'm going to include it in what we are co-creating. I mean, it's already included, but I want to respond to that. I want to be alive to that. So my gesturing wants to start incorporating, working with that movement in that moment. Now, I deliberately closed that off with no verbal instruction, or minimal verbal instruction. Again, I think I probably said, and that hand can continue until ... Until what? Until what? Until... And I create the moment. Here's the moment. It's coming. It's not going to happen quite yet until... That's the moment, isn't it? It's been pre-framed, this. We know something is going to happen. We know change is going to happen. How do we know? It's not been explicitly laid out in the instructions, but we know it's going to happen. So this is something that I work with a lot. I mean, part of this comes from martial arts, part of it comes from magic. Right? You're a magician. Magicians use flourishes. I don't like that term, flourish. I think it's sort of a superficial. It sounds superficial to me when there can be so much meaning in gesture and so much meaning in movement. Flourish. It's like when magicians talk about patter. Oh, my patter. What? You know, does it have no gravity for you? Non-verbal communication. I like it. Now, here's the thing. If I'm doing this eyes closed, this stuff is really powerful, by the way. I'm just thinking back to the last training I did, and there was this guy who he really didn't like to be led. He really didn't want to be hypnotized. He wanted to hypnotize, but he didn't want to be hypnotized. And he's a bald guy. This will become relevant in a moment. It's not just a random observation. And I did a hand-to-face induction with him. Did a hand-to-face induction. If you ever experienced a hand-to-face induction, you look like the kind of guy that would normally think, I don't experience hypnosis easily. Is that true? Or am I wrong about that? I'm totally wrong about that. You see, mind reading, you were talking about that yesterday. Can I borrow you for a second? Sure. Yeah, I'm just going to do this here. Let's not do it up there because it doesn't need to be that showy. Can I come in? Yeah, this is a good side. And can I borrow your hand? Absolutely perfect. Just notice that hand now. That's like you continue. All the way slow. Slow. That's it, until your eyes close. You relax all the way. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. You can just take a moment to experience this moment. And everything else beyond this moment now is within you. That's it. And when you're ready, you can just take a breath in again and breathe out all the way out. Your eyes can open, your hand can drift down, you can become fully present, fully aware. Notice a slightly different quality of light in the room. Yeah. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. You've seen a hand-to-face induction a dozen times, hundreds of times, and did it yesterday. The thing that I go for hugely here is the non-verbal again. And I want to go for the shape. You notice the line when I did the walking thing. I want to go for the line, because where does the hand come up? I don't want the hand to come up all angular and jerky. It's a smooth arc. Actually, the smoothest hand-to-face induction, look at the shape. Up, over, down, round. Round, nice and round. A nice round shape is a beautiful thing, because there's no resistance. The hand is coming up, you join with it and allow the circle to complete. Bring it back in. So again, what is it that I want to create? What's the experience that I want to create? Smoothness, circularity, ease. I don't want there to be any jerky patches that might catch the mind. I want it to go in. So I'm going to lead the shape, lead the arc, bring it to a close. When I say and until your eyes can close, here's this, eyes can close. It's all very non-verbal. So I'm working with this guy, and you can't take the pace is going to unfold as it unfolds. I'm working with this guy, and he doesn't like to be hypnotised. And I bring him up for the hand-to-face induction demo. And I'm going to borrow that hand, and up it comes, boom, and he's here, and he's like, and his hand's stopped. The hand's just gone, shit, I'm not doing it, I'm not going. So I thought, well, that's fair enough, you have every right to do that, but I also have every right to not cease and desist at this moment, so I shall continue. So I just come in, I've gone, that's right, and you can really feel that. And I start doing this, and this hand's behind him, and this hand's in front, just in front of his hand, not touching it, and feel, and I'm intense at this moment. I'm going full intensity. And the hands go. And this guy, I've never seen a guy fight and struggle so much. And the reason I mentioned he was bored is because these beads of sweat went explode on his head. He was dripping with sweat, struggling with this thing. And I'm just, that's right. And he went completely bright pink, and just finally and close your eyes, boom. But I swear to you, without the non-verbal, there was no way I was going to get in that guy's reality like that. I'm playing, that's a workshop situation. I wouldn't do that with a client. I wouldn't be hammering to that degree necessarily. But it's a workshop situation, so I'm playing. I'm seeing where the edges are. But it's that interesting thing, because the guy's thinking brain, his critical faculty, if you like the Dave Elman frame, I'm sure it's doing something. I'm sure it's going to. But the thing that the main communication is not coming through linguistically. It's coming non-verbally. So while there's something else happening, he still hasn't quite latched onto it yet. It's still not quite there. So it's unfolding and it's occurring. So I love to work non-verbal. I've only got like a few minutes left. I mean, Nick's waving this 5-minute thing. That clock says 10, but I'm going to go with Nick. When I show people this, they go, yeah, I get that, that makes sense. That makes sense. Because they can see what you're doing. When I'm working with somebody eyes closed, you see me work with someone eyes closed, I'm all over the place with non-verbal communication, full body communication. I'm going to say something about that full body communication. Because it changes everything. If I try and say, and close your eyes. That's my best imitation that I can do with a still, stuck body. When I say, and your eyes can, that's right, close now. This, when I say to somebody, and as you feel, when I say feel, I have to go feel. I cannot say that way. And as you feel. Maybe I can get close, Maybe your conscious mind go, well, that was pretty similar. But unconsciously, speech, does it occur to you that speech is a full body act? When you're breathing, it's truly free. Your whole system adjusts. It's like a tent. You see a tent? You go pull on one of the guy ropes and the whole tent will shift subtly. You can't pull on the guy rope and have that move and nothing else move, right? We are what's called tensegrity structures. When you breathe, when you move, it changes the entire expression of your body, both verbally and non-verbally. Your lungs, your vocal cords, they're physical things. You use them. You know, have you ever heard people say, you know, when you want an analog mark, just lean on the word? You ever heard somebody say that? Have you ever thought to actually do it? Not take it as a metaphor, but actually lean on the word. Lean on it. There's a reason that's a metaphor. Because it's not. That's it. That's what you want to do. So I encourage you to do this. Last thing I'm going to say about full body communication is an hour slot, so it's a bit hurried. You may also notice when I'm using my body and my gesture, I'm using my body and my gesture. I'm not going to go, close your eyes. Okay, if I'm doing this thing that I was doing with Freddie, and that's not it. It's a full body communication. The hand may catch the attention of the conscious mind. People say, well, you waved your hand, they will say. You moved your hand. And what was everything else that was also moving in perfect synchrony? Is that the right word? That was also moving in perfect synchrony that you were not paying attention to. Consciously. You're always paying attention unconsciously. So if I'm saying, as you feel that, that's right, and notice, it's full body, because I want everything to express from every part of the body, whether or not the client can see me. I'm going to assume that it leaks out through all channels, through my tonality, through everything. So that's what I want to do. The last thing I'm going to say very, very quickly is I work with mental models when I do this. So you can bet I feel it. If I'm connecting with an emotion or a sensation in a client, and I say, and as you notice, that's right. I look, I feel. It's like I'm touching that sensation. Even if I'm across the room, it's like I'm touching it. And as you notice and you feel, that's right. And just notice, oh, what does that mean? It means it's increasing, it's moving up. And when I say to a client, and as you look at me and you notice now, why am I doing this? I'm looking, I'm expanding their space. They're in a narrow trance. I want to expand their space. I'm going to do it, I'm going to model it like the air is clay and I'm shaping it. Like the entire experience in the moment is there to be touched and handled and moved and moulded. I'll tell you, that's a powerful thing. You've got a client going, and you say, and just look at me for a moment and notice your breathing. That's right. That's right. You know, you get in their trance. It's like I'm going into their trance and expanding it out. Open out. You watch the physiology shift. Boom. And notice now. That's right. Yeah. All non-verbal. Non-verbals, non-verbals, non-verbals. I love them. All right. Nick is aware that I'm done. Have I got a moment for one question?
Yeah, Bob's next, so he's happy.
Oh. Yeah.
Is it all right? Just keep going.
Well, I've been drinking, so it's not.
Okay, that's good.
I really enjoyed that. You obviously value non-verbal communication.
I do.
Yours and theirs.
Yeah.
Do you still value idiomotor communication since Kirsch destroyed my convention in 2011? Do you still, in that, obviously the demo here, this finger went, that could easily be.
Yeah, I'm going to use it. Yeah, I'm going to use that, and I will. You know, if I was working there, my default position would be, that's right, notice that. And what could that know? That's going to be my position. I'm going to kind of rule it in and use it. So that's an influence from Norman Vorton, who came and also ruined your convention at one point, I think.
Yeah.
But actually spectacular worker when he's on his game.
Yeah, no, I loved it. No, I just wondered if you still
I don't.
value idiomotor communication as some kind of unconscious communication?
I do actually. Yeah, I do think stuff can leak through. Just very quickly, I remember many years ago, I was doing a hand-to-face induction with someone years ago, and at the time, the hand's coming towards the face. I'm saying, and I'm just feeling. I'm doing patter, and that hand can continue towards your face only as quickly as your inner mind is ready now to make these changes. I was not expecting that. I was just filling in the ground while the hand came in. The guy rolls his eyes towards me. I can't move my hand. Okay. Right? Now, I'm not saying it's his unconscious mind communicating, but people are a complex system. You know, most of what's going on is outside of consciousness, and they communicate through many channels. There's clearly some kind of resistance that seems to be expressing somehow. There's something to be explored. There's a clue there. You know, to ignore that and go, oh, it's just your imagination. Carry on with the hand towards the face would seem inappropriate to me. So, I do sort of value that.
Can I just to share something quickly to do what you've been doing today? Yesterday I met Melissa for the first time at lunchtime, and we were talking, and because I've seen her lecture, I thought it was great. I'm assuming that she's always at work to some extent. And we were talking, and we were pretty this far away from each other. We weren't right in each other's face. But I realised afterwards that we'd actually moved about 6 or 8 feet.
Mm.
And it was like, afterwards it felt like we'd had a string between us. Whether Melissa was doing it on purpose, I think she was. First time, and as a man, I thought, is it my breath? You know, is she trying to get away from me? But no, I think she was priming me. I think she was seeing how much, I don't know, how far can I move this man? Because I think if she really wanted to, we would have ended up on the street, the same space. Because it was like, that's how it felt. And after watching a lecture on priming yesterday, I thought, you know what, that was like, she'd moved me without me really knowing.
Yeah, good fighters
It was
do it.
it was an experience, yeah.
That's been my experience.
And
Good fighters know how to
when you
move
did that
people
today,
non-verbally.
it's the same sort of thing. You know, it's non-verbal. In this, with you, it was stop here. And
Yeah.
yet with Melissa, it felt like. Well, it was only afterwards that I thought I'd moved about 8 foot
Yeah.
while we were talking, and she might just be trying to get away with me, but it didn't feel like. It just felt like I'd been moved without knowing it.
Okay, cool. I'm going to close this because Bob does want to
No,
have a
it's
little
not a
bit of
problem.
time.
No, it's,
I know you had all of Friday. He's not a greedy guy, but.
Excellent.
Oh.